Hey guys, it's Crystal. It's a really rainy, gross day outside, so I'm going to try to make this quick. I got my coffee here. I just woke up and I'm going to try to do this video before my battery dies again. So today I want to talk to you about my trying to conceive story because I originally started looking at YouTube videos and I got really interested in everyone else's little family that I started thinking about maybe starting one of my own, which is really strange for me because I was never gonna have kids type person. Like I can never see myself with kids. I never babysat. I didn't have any younger siblings or cousins or anything like that that I was close to. So all my whole life I've just never, anytime anyone ever said anything about kids, I was like, oh no, not for me. You know, first time I held a baby, I don't know what to do. It feels very strange. So that's something that it's never a part of my life. I never even gave it a second thought. When I got married, my husband, it was like an understanding that we weren't going to have kids. Like we never talked about it because he knew I've never even brought it up. So I guess about a year ago I started thinking about having kids. I think my husband's a bit older than me and I'm getting older, and I think that it just started getting to me. I entertained the thought, well, it'd be kind of neat to have a family. I think that's something that it doesn't scare the bejesus out of me like it did. I kind of trying to think of the pros of having a family instead of always thinking about the cons, which I would always do. I would never have time to travel. I would never have time for anything. Would never have enough money. When I started thinking about that, it just seemed kind of insurmountable. Like we don't have time to have kids. I don't want our lives to be completely changed. So there's a lot of fears that I had. But when I started realizing, you don't have to completely change your whole life to make modifications. I understand that. You don't have to lose yourself completely and stop doing what you like to do. I think when I was growing up, my parents, whenever we went anywhere, we fit around their life and we weren't their entire life. So I think nowadays I see a lot of people that I know that have kids and it's just their kids consume them and that's all they ever talk about. It's like they lose what their joy in life was before that. That was a big thing that really scared me. Like I couldn't see having a life and having kids also fitting together as one. It was a big reason why it was very scary for me to think about having kids. I started thinking about it and I was kind of more ready than my husband because I never even peeped a word to him about thinking about having kids. So I brought it up in the kitchen one day out of the blue when I was doing the dishes and I said something like, hey, so do you think we're ever gonna have kids one day? And it totally caught him off guard and he was like, where did this come from? And so I started him thinking, hey, maybe it's not so bad, because he just was okay going along with whatever I thought. He figured we weren't ever gonna have kids, that's fine. He never really thought about it because I never really thought about it and we never talked about it. So, okay. Long story short, I wanted to get checked out by a doctor before we decided to make the plunge and start trying, just to make sure everything was okay. And that was actually really hard to get my particular doctor that I was seeing at the time to do. I wanted to see an OBGYN and make sure everything was fine, and insurance, the general physician does your yearly exams, and so she was like, well, why do you need to see one? You haven't even started trying yet, so you don't even know if there's a problem or if you can't get pregnant. And I'm like, well, I would like to know if anything pops up. I won't get a physical and know everything pops up before I even start trying, because if I knew something was wrong or I would problems down the road or whatnot, I would want to know that ahead of time. I have a thyroid problems I have to take thyroid medicine for. I told her that my thyroid doctor, which she did say that she would suggest me getting checked out. So I said, my thyroid doctor suggested that I get checked out before I even started. And she kind of rolled her eyes and was like, well, I guess if that doctor said so, then I'll go ahead and write you a referral. I switched doctors from there. I went to see a OBGYN and found out that I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is very common, I heard. But the doctor is like, well, it could take you years if you don't use medication to try to get pregnant, if you just want to see what happens. So she gave me Provera and Clomid to try a couple times, and she was like, you know, usually people will come back and see me after a year if nothing's happened. So she didn't explain to me what PCOS really was, other than obviously cysts on your ovaries. I had to go home and research it myself, and I still am not quite sure how that is going to play into trying to have a child, other than I know that it can increase your chances of miscarriage multiple times, and some people just don't ovulate, and which I don't. I was originally having the problem of it would come on its own maybe every 3 months, every 5 months. There was no regularity to it. Sometimes it was every month for a couple months, and then it wouldn't come on for 5 months, and one time it didn't even come on for a whole year. So something I should have got checked out a long time ago. And at the time I wasn't planning on having kids, and I was like, okay, cool, I don't have a cycle. Who wants to deal with that? And when you actually want to try to get pregnant, some people it happens right away. And, you know, scientifically in my mind I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to take the medication. So I took the Provera to get my cycle started, and then I took the Clomid as prescribed, and then I timed everything and would start trying. The next month came, and I took a test and it was negative. And I'm like, okay, well maybe we just missed it. So I did the same next month and nothing again. And so I'm getting really frustrated with that, because in my mind I took the medicine's supposed to work, it didn't work. So I'm at the point now, last month my cycle came on by itself without me taking the Provera, and so we tried to, you know, see if I would ovulate naturally since it came on by itself, and so far nothing has happened. I don't know at this point if I should go back to the doctor and get checked out again, you know, go see like a fertility clinic. I've been reading online, there's a couple natural medications. One was called chasteberry, or it's also called Vitex, that's supposed to help regulate your cycle naturally. And I heard that it's really gentle and slow, so it could take a couple months for it to help. And I don't know if I should try that, because at this point, we started in September. I know I shouldn't try to fit getting pregnant on a timeline, but we kind of are in a timeline, you know, with my job and my husband's job, and I don't know, you know, how long we might be here, so I would like my family to enjoy whatever child I may be blessed with, if at all, you know, as long as possible. So I kind of feel a sense of urgency, which is silly for me to feel because I didn't even want kids before. So I don't even know really at this point if I'm ovulating. I've tried taking my basal temperature with a basal temperature thermometer, and that just was so confusing for me to actually get my temperature in the morning. So I'm just like laying there waiting for the thing to go off, and I couldn't tell any difference between the raising and lowering of temperature, and I didn't do it long enough to give it a chance. So that one's out. I marked that out. I did ovulation strips twice. I'm on my second time doing it, and I still can never tell if the darn thing, if I'm ovulating. I mean, I think the strips are working because the color does change. It just always says no ovulating. So that's really frustrating. So it could be possible maybe I'm not ovulating. I don't know. Every month that ticks by, I'm thinking, you know, that's 1 month down. That's 1 month that is not gonna happen. That's 1 month of time less that we're here, that, you know, we might be around our family. And so I feel like it's a ticking clock that keeps on going down, and each month that goes by, that's another month that hasn't happened. It would be nice to know that I'm ovulating, that something's working. So at this point, I'm really frustrated, and I just wanted to kind of get my frustrations out there, because I'm really hesitant about taking medications and doing the whole fertility thing. I don't know how far I would go with that. I don't know if I'd want to go down that road, because I try to take very natural measures, and I think that when I was taking the Clomid, bumps up your estrogen a lot. I was under a lot of stress at the time. I was going to school, I was working all at the same time, so I was really stressed out, which isn't the best time, I know. It was probably the worst time to try to have a kid. It's really exhausting trying to time things and make sure things happened. And it was fun at first, and then it really got to be kind of stressful on both our parts, you know, when you're trying to do things. And then I thought, okay, well, I'm just gonna let things happen. And still things didn't happen. So at this point, I don't know. I will probably make an appointment with the doctor. I might also try to see if I can order some of that Vitex and see if that helps. But, you know, since the months are ticking down, I would like to know something soon. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated when I learn anything else. And hopefully I'll have a happy update sometime in the near future.